I just want to welcome everyone who's coming in today. This is our last in a three-part series on designing your life, how to build a well-lived, joyful life. And I will, when I send the replay out for this webinar, I will send the other two the installments, so you can listen to those if you'd like. I will go ahead and share my slides or my screen right now. I know we have folks from Florida, Texas, Michigan, Qatar, or Qatar. And we still have some more folks that will likely be coming in. So I want to get started on time. So again, my name is Kim Barker. I want to welcome you to our third session of Designing Your Life. And I want to encourage you to get out a piece of paper or have your journal ready to record some thoughts, because hopefully you'll have a few during today's session. So if you're anything like me, if I don't record them, they go away. And so I always want to have something handy so that I can record my thoughts. So we have some folks from all over the world, actually. But I want to, if you haven't shared where you are from, if you want to go ahead and share that in the chat, and also maybe share what perspective you bring today. Are you a student? Are you a professional? Are you in HR? Are you a consultant? Just if you want to just go in and share that, that would be wonderful. Also, while we're doing this, if you could think about, what is your intention for this webinar? What are you really looking for out of it? Hopefully you're looking to learn a little bit more about design thinking and applying it to your life, but do you have any other intentions for this webinar? And just take a minute and think about that for a little minute. I love this quote. I'm a huge Kara Golden fan. She says, if you ever get a chance to start a company with purpose, do it. And she is the founder and CEO of Hint Water. How many of you have had Hint Water? I love Hint Water. It's water with just a hint of fruit flavor to it. And she has a book out called Undaunted, and it is an incredible book. And it tells her story from start to finish on how she founded Hint. And it's just, let me tell you, she has failed forward many times. So I highly recommend her book, Undaunted, and of course her product as well. But she has done so much good with her company, and my hat really goes off to her. I just want to remind you of last summer's book read. If you're interested, you can create positive change at work. It is now on Amazon, and it's a book about how anybody, no matter their position, can create positive change in their workplace and possibly in their lives. And I want to encourage you to check out our programs at the Eastern Michigan University College of Business. The EMU COB is sponsoring this webinar today. And it is truly a wonderful organization where we try to make sure everybody belongs. And so many majors, more than I can count, but accounting, business administration, management, entrepreneurship, international business, finance, general business, human resources and organization development, marketing, and on and on and on. Supply chain, tax consultant, web and mobile technology. So we just, if you're interested, check us out at emish.edu/COB. and learn about our programs and learn how you can be innovative, applied, and global, which we are today. So I would like to welcome Amy Sell. Amy comes highly recommended by Dr. Diana Wong, recommended her to come and share with us today. And I found out in preparing for this that my husband has known Amy for a number of years. And so she is just a stalwart in the areas of HR and team building and talent management. And oh, I do have a little intro, Amy. I'm sorry, I almost forgot about it. Amy leads a human resources consulting firm that helps employers and communities solve their talent challenges. Prior to launching her practice in 2015, Sell was the Senior VP of Talent Enhancement for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Other human resources roles include Ann Arbor Spark, Ford, the Stanford Research Institute. She has also worked as a CPA for Plant Moran, and before realizing she liked people more than numbers. Amy received her BBA and MBA from the University of Michigan, and she is also on the faculty there. And I just really want to thank you for coming today and sharing with us some of your wisdom, Amy. And could you tell us a little bit about your journey? How did you figure out that you wanted to start your own organization?
That is such a great question. And thanks for the introduction and kind words. That's really, I'm blushing. I'm blushing over here.
Oh, you're so sweet.
So I guess in terms of the starting my own business, it wasn't like, I mean, some people like I was, born to be an entrepreneur. For me, I would say I'm a little bit more of an accidental entrepreneur. So I had been working at the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. There was a restructuring. My position was eliminated. They gave me a consulting contract to work on a particular project. And so all of a sudden I found that I was a consultant, but I loved what I was doing. I mean, I was very passionate about trying to help small businesses get the talent they need, help startups launch and grow. My work at Ann Arbor Spark and MEDC was very focused on economic development and helping Michigan thrive and transform our economy from more automotive to more high tech and startups. And if you look at what's going on in the world and some of the biggest challenges we have, we need innovation. And so how do we support innovators bring their ideas to life? And so that was really my passion. And that was the work I got to work on at Spark and MEDC. So when I found myself looking for my next career adventure, figuring out a way to focus on that passion and get people to pay for it because I needed to put food on the table and kids in college, the answer was to form a business. And so that's kind of why I launched my company a little over 8 years ago.
And what would you describe as your passion, Amy?
Yeah, so it's really about helping startups and small businesses succeed. I love helping people. So that is, that really drives me to be able to help and to use my talents and experiences in a way to help people and have an impact. And so that really comes down to the small companies that don't really have many options, or nonprofits or municipalities who need effective HR services and recruiting services, but can't necessarily afford to pay what other people charge. So affordability is a big differentiator that we have that allows us to serve these needs that we're passionate about.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your company and what you do at Amy Sell Talent?
Sure. So we are a team of about 20 people, and we provide human resources, services, and recruiting services to smaller companies. So these would be companies that don't have an internal HR person, or that HR person can't do everything and wants to outsource their recruiting or a compensation project. So we do project-based work. We're also kind of a fractional HR resource for small businesses, nonprofits, and municipalities. So we're pretty flexible, but really work in that small organization space that needs flexible services, but also affordable services.
Awesome. And how have you become unstuck when you have found yourself stuck at a point in time, whether it was you or someone else you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I think everybody is in this world, we're going through, it's a journey, right? And
yeah.
there's you're hitting on all cylinders, and there are times when we feel a little stuck. And for me, it is about kind of that journaling and reflection. And um so I have my planner, which I always carry with me, and it's just a notebook, and I can journal, I can doodle. If I'm feeling frustrated about something, I'll write it down, and then I'll be like, well, why do I feel frustrated? And maybe there might be 4 or 5 things listed, and maybe 2 of those things I just can't do anything about. So I just need to get in my head, okay, I need to move on. That's beyond out of my control. But there might be 2 or 3 things that I can do something about. And so what are my action steps, and how am I going to do that? So I'm very goal and task oriented. I like having to-do lists just to be able to cross things off of them. And so that really kind of embodies how I try to get unstuck, really figure out that root cause. What are those feelings, processing and then figuring out how to work myself out of it. And sometimes it's like, okay, I'm feeling a little sad, and there isn't maybe a specific reason. So I just need to take care of myself and have that Haagen-Dazs and go for a walk with a friend, get in a better mindset. And then sometimes it's, I need to make some tough decisions, or have a tough conversation, or apologize to somebody, or whatever it is to help, get me back to where I want to be.
That's great. It sounds like reflection is really important to you.
Yes. Yep.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about maybe design thinking, or about yourself or your strengths?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm a big fan of design thinking. I actually use it in my class. I teach a class in project management and consulting, and design thinking is a great way to do that. And I think some of the aspects of design thinking that really resonate with me are kind of beginning with the end in mind, and really a good problem definition of what you're trying to solve, what you're trying to design or create. I think it helps you be efficient and focused. So yeah, that would be one thing that comes to mind.
Awesome. And if somebody wanted to contact you, how would they do so, or contact you via your organization?
Sure. Email is always great. AMY at Amy Cell, CELL talent.com. And, set up a call or chat. I love connecting people and making connections, and it's always fun to have those conversations.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Can you stick around for a little bit?
Of course.
Oh, thanks. Oh, we still have folks coming in. And those of you who have come in a little bit into the call, I want to welcome you, and thank you for being here today. I actually, Amy, I hadn't taken my Clifton Strengths in a number of years. And after Chris Dotson spoke at our first session, I took the Clifton Strengths Finder again. And it was just, it was so wonderful. And what I found for my top 5 strengths are arranger, maximizer, includer, activator, and positivity. And it was just so affirming, that I wanted woo in my Matthew had, I think woo was number 6 or 7, and I was like, dang it. But I just really, I really am. I try to be inclusive. all the time. And yeah, and I'm an arranger. I'll arrange things every which way to try to to get it to be most effective. And yeah, anyway, it was just very affirming. So if any of you are interested, I can connect you with Chris to be able to do that. I had done it a number of years ago, but I had forgotten what they were, and it was just really gratifying. And I have had such an enjoyable time putting these webinars together. 3 quotes that have really popped out at me during this preparation. One is to remember that there is no perfect job that you perfectly fit, but there are lots of jobs that you can make perfect enough. Right. And so I think that just really stood out to me. Maybe your job isn't perfect today, but you can work at it to make it be a perfect fit for you. Another one by Thomas Edison: we often miss opportunity because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. Right. It is still life takes a lot of work, a lot of effort. And we gotta always keep that in mind. And then the last one is life is a journey, enjoy the ride. And it really is. I love hearing stories about, Amy. She kind of had this transition, and she kind of took the bull by the horns, and and moved with it. But she certainly had signs that this was the right direction to go in. All right. Who can tell me? This is a review for a quick minute. What is design thinking? So design thinking started out as a process for creating sleek new technology and products. But this methodology is widely used now by both the private and public sectors for business and personal. And it's a way to think about, what is your ideal state, right? What are your pain points? How can you work through these issues and get to a better solution? Coming up with an idea is easy. I saw this when I was preparing for this, and I thought it was just so profound. Coming up with the right one takes work. Again, back to the Thomas Edison quote. With design thinking, you are throwing out what you think you know and starting from scratch. This opens up all kinds of possibilities, right? So it's really about, I had a college professor say, don't just think outside the box, blow up the dang box, right? Who needs to think inside a box or deal with a box? And it's really kind of about that, right? How can you look at things differently? And of course, there's so many companies that we can think of. Apple, IDEO, there's just so many companies. Airbnb, right? Uber, Lyft, that we can think of that have just really redesigned what they do in the marketplace based on this thinking. So does anybody else have any companies or examples of companies that have used design thinking that stand out in your mind? Don't be shy. Okay, fine. If you think of one, put it in the chat or give us a little shout out, okay? So in the book on page 55, they talk about what is AEIOU besides vowels, right? And this acronym can really help you zoom in effectively and discover specifically what is and isn't working for you. Okay. So, and you're supposed to be journaling, right? It's important that you have a journal, and you look at, what gives you joy, what in the thing that you do gives you joy. Amy, was there one thing specifically that made you realize that you liked people more than numbers?
Yeah, so this is a little interesting story. I was working at Plant Moran, and they have an industrial psychology practice. And I had never taken any HR class or anything in my undergrad. I was very focused on accounting, which I thought I was more born to do because my dad was a banker, my mom was an accountant. I was always good at math. It made sense.
Right.
But I was working at Plant Moran, and then they're like, well, it's a little bit slow right now. Why don't you go through and take these personality tests in the industrial psychology department, just so that you know how to cross sell them to our clients? So I took all these things like, personality, like all the industry. It was like 5 hours of tests and logic tests and interest things. And then I came back for my, review, and they're like, you should not be an accountant. I'm like, what? Like, what? Are you kidding? I've got my CPA. I did well in these classes. And like, yeah, there were a few things that were kind of frustrating for me, but I really liked a lot of what I was doing. And so I was just like dumbstruck. I'm like, what? This is crazy. I thought I'd be at Plant Moran forever. I love their lifestyle, like kind of work-life balance and culture. And so then I was like, well, I guess I'm kind of curious. So if I shouldn't be an accountant, what should I be? And they said either an attorney or human resources professional. And I had no idea what an HR person did. And so then I started thinking about it a little bit later. And, as I'm reflecting, I'm like, well, I guess I really do like the recruiting or training things that I'm doing. And I like compensation projects. And yeah, some of the things that I don't like about, doing a cash flow statement and then reviewing it, et cetera. So it was it was a key pivotal moment, these tests, whether it's strengths finders or anything else that can give you insight that you don't even see, even if it's in front of you. So that's a little side note about how I started on that journey of people over numbers, and how important reflection and talking to people and taking advantage of resources can be.
That is so interesting. And I want to encourage everybody, whenever you get a chance to take any kind of an assessment, and there's a couple free ones actually that I'll try to remember to put in the when I send the replay out. But whenever you can, just to take an assessment, it just sometimes you just have one takeaway, right? But it can be a really profound takeaway. I can't tell you, in doing the Clifton Strengths Finder again, I know, and I have to go through my papers and try to find my past one, but I know I've changed, right? And hopefully we're all evolving and changing, right, in our lives. And so whenever you get that opportunity to take any kind of an assessment, I want to encourage you to do that. AEIOU is looking at what activities are working for you? What activities bring you joy? What environments have a profound effect on your emotional state? When are you happiest, right? You feel one way in a football stadium and maybe another way in a cathedral, right? Think about this, and what kind of place do you really thrive in, and how does it make you feel? Interactions. Do you like people or machines or animals? What kind of interactions really bring you joy? Are they formal interactions? Are they more informal? Things like that. And if you could go ahead and mute yourself, unless you want to share, that would be really helpful. And of course, if you want to share, please unmute and say, hey, I have something I want to share, because we really do want this to be kind of a conversation. Okay, so activities, environment, interactions, objects. What objects make you feel creative, make you feel supportive, engaged, and users? Who else is there and what role do they play in making your experiences either positive or negative. I really like the AEIOU, and I think it's really a way to become a little more reflective. So, steps in design thinking. As a little bit of a refresher, you're going to empathize. You're going to define what the problem is, always asking why, right? A lot of times, what we start with as the problem definition is a symptom of a problem, right? So you have to ask why, maybe 5 times, maybe 10 times, right? Ask why each time to make sure you are actually getting at what the problem is, what the issue is, and that's what you're really looking at what that is. Ideate, put those ideas out. Every idea, right? There are no bad ideas. And then prototype it, and then test it. And then you can go back, you can do this even as a circular thing over and over again, right? So those are the steps in design thinking. Of course, keeping the customer central. That is the whole key in design thinking, is that it is very customer centric. And we're thinking, how are we going to make the customer's life better? What is mind mapping? I really love this. And in the book, they talk about mind mapping. And I think I have a picture here. There, you know what? On a piece of paper, you can draw like a rectangle and have 5. Oh, Deborah, you had a question.
Yeah, before we jumped ahead, for some reason I missed the U. I got to the activity.
Oh, yeah, users.
Oh, thank you. And that ties a bit to the customers, I guess.
Yes, yes. So thank you so much for saying that. And who was with you when you were in that ideal state? So thanks for asking that question. So you can just draw this on your own. If if you have the book, that's great, but you don't need the book. But think about a scenario, and this is really related to the 3 kind of scenarios of you that we developed in the last session. So and I kind of equate each of these boxes to the 5 steps, although it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But that kind of helped me when I was drawing out my scenario, is to use the box for each one. But think about,
what if you could do SEO smarter?
what if you could, right? That is a question. So they have some examples in the book about how to do this and how to do the mind mapping. Here is one example. I mean, literally, you are doodling and you are drawing and you are saying, okay, how in this situation, this person wants to go and work in Silicon Valley, right? So they started in the first part, doing their research, talking to family, getting a personal trainer, and then I put define for the second. How are they going to define it? They have a lot of physical activities associated with that. And I think that's really good. I mean, I think when you are in periods of transition or planning, getting out there and taking walks, right? Being in nature, I think are so important to help you as you are planning and being creative. The next one they said is coming up with their beta product, coming up with some money, climb a mountain. And then they are going to, again, work towards this, and then in their prototype, and then go public is their last one. So, but it's really important that you give each of these scenarios, each of these versions of you, if you will, give it a title, about 6 words. right? This one is all in the Silicon Valley story. But really think about what is that title that you want. One is using what I know, helping kids. Another one, creating community, one drink at a time. This is somebody who's looking at a water purifying product. So giving things a fun title is really important because it really helps you call it what it is, right? Which I think is important. So you're creating your three alternative 5-year plans, creating this box and kind of drawing step by step what you're going to do. You're going to complete each of the gauges at the bottom. So from empty to full, right? From cold to hot. Do you have all the resources? Do you like it? Do you like what you're wanting to do? How do you feel as far as confidence? And how do you feel as far as coherence? And then list any questions that you have about this plan, right? Are there any questions that come up? One question might be, do I really have what it takes to be an entrepreneur? Right? Is that something that I'm interested in? Is my idea good enough? Will I be able to raise enough money to get it done? Lots of questions like that. Are really helpful as you are mapping out each of these scenarios. And I can't tell you, I've never been a doodle person. And I know I told you in the first session about, one of my profs said to get a journal and begin writing in it. And I was like, what? And I'm on my umpteenth journal right now. But there's something about your pen or pencil to paper that is so much more impactful than typing it in on your phone, right? I'm not saying, your phone isn't a useful tool, but if you have a journal and you write in it, you have it forever, right? I know when I get a new phone, I always try to back things up, but somehow sometimes they just go away. So as you are, as I'm talking, I'm really hoping that you will be drawing out these boxes and at least get a start on them as far as what your 3 plans are, giving it a title, creating the boxes. And I will just tell you this one story from the book, which I thought was really impactful. So it's called Martha's Many Lives. What follows is an example of 3 5-year Odyssey plans from a participant in one of their mid-career workshops. Martha is a technology executive who was looking to try something more meaningful for the latter half of her life. She came up with 3 very different plans for her future, each a little more risky and innovative, but all involving some kind of community building. Her 3 plans were doing her first Silicon Valley startup, becoming the CEO of a nonprofit working with at-risk kids, and opening a fun and friendly neighborhood bar in the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco where she lived. Note, that she has the examples for each one. And somewhere there was a story, and I thought that was it, but there was a story in here about somebody who wanted to create their business. Oh, here it is. Her name is Melanie. She taught sociology at a small liberal arts college and was impressed by developments in the burgeoning field of social innovation and social entrepreneurship that were transforming what nonprofit organizations could do when using insights from the startup and venture capital world. Knowing that students were really interested in these new approaches, to social impact, she started teaching a course and sponsoring social innovation projects. It went great. She wanted to do more. She longed to making lasting impact on her college and dreamed up a vision and found a new institute for social innovation. All she needed was $15 million to endow it properly and to do it right. She set up about a task of raising the money. She developed a strategy and a killer elevator pitch for the idea. Students loved it. Administrators were supportive. The development office hated it. Just like most small colleges, Melanie's school was underfunded and struggling to keep up. Its alumni roster was not overloaded with zillionaires, and the development office vigilantly guarded relationships with a few major donors of the college that the college had recruited. Melanie was given a long hands-off list by the college's key donors, including individuals and foundations. She was free to solicit anyone, but they couldn't be on the list. This was quite a setback for her, but she had a dream worthy of her time, so she went for it. You can guess the rest. She networked, she pitched tirelessly for 2 years and got nowhere. She signed up a few commitments, but they were all way too small. Any big donors she discovered got scooped up by the development office for other things. Melanie's goal remained totally out of reach. Without access to the few strategic donors, she'd never raise $15 million. She was stuck. Unnecessarily stuck. Melanie believed that her problem was getting $15 million to fund her Social Innovation Institute, but that wasn't her problem. That was just her first idea of a solution to her problem. And she got so anchored to that idea that she got mired in stuckness and failure. Oh, and did we mention she was getting depressed by all this rejection, and that her teaching was suffering from the fundraising distraction, and that her colleagues, sick of Melanie's money lament, began avoiding her? You see, when you anchor yourself to a bad solution, it gets worse and worse with time. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. She decided to frame an interesting question and to talk to lots of people on campus. She began interviewing campus leaders, asking, how do you think social innovation can be part of our college, and where would we start? She had lots of great conversation and got lots of ideas. People suggested theme dorms, alternative spring break programming, a summer internship program, a new senior thesis project curriculum. There were lots of ways to make an institutional impact on the college without having to start and fund a new institute. Sure, the institute would be cooler and bigger and sexier and would maybe have more of an impact, but it was also nearly impossible. The other ideas were much cheaper and also enlisted more new supporters, and Melanie was no longer the sole advocate on campus. She formed a joint student faculty team, and they concluded a social innovation themed dorm was the best idea. So they prototyped it. Again, I'll skip ahead a little more. By reframing the problem, using curiosity, prototyping, and a little radical collaboration, Melanie made a permanent change in the campus culture and the housing system. She had a lasting impact on the institution without ever having to fund an institute. And that's what I love about design thinking, is you can rework any phrase, any step of this, and go back and rework it, and you prototype it and you test it. But what the key is, like they say in the book, you can't get stuck on a bad anchor, right? And that's why it's important to get all ideas out on the table. And like she did, she went back to the table and she got a bunch of ideas, and they selected one that was best for them right at that time. That doesn't mean the other suggestions that they got weren't great. It means that they weren't great for that time. And so no suggestion is bad, right? It's just what is the best to use at this time. So I want you to begin thinking about, how can you map out each of those 3 scenarios that we discovered for your life? Okay. Rules for brainstorming. We love brainstorming, don't we? And that's why it's so important to think about that, to have a journal so you can write down all your ideas. Go for quantity, not quality. Defer judgment and do not censor any ideas. I have been in rooms where we just begin brainstorming with a team, and oh my gosh, we start all these ideas and then we go to a place that we never would have been to if those other ideas hadn't been flowing. And by the time we have enough of this brainstorming and getting to the all these ideas, a lot of times one just stands out, right? It's like the shining example on the hill, right? Build off each other's ideas and encourage wild ideas. These wild and crazy ideas lead to other things, right? So I love quantity and quality, right? Both of them can be so valuable when you are brainstorming. Does anybody want to give an example of a brainstorming situation that you had that just really took your team to a whole new level, and you were just blown away by it? I'll share a story. When we were working at the Children's Hospital before we built a new Children's Hospital, and we got a multidisciplinary group together, and we looked at our doors. We had so many doors, doors that people could come and go from. We called our situation Swiss cheese, right? Because there were so many people that could come and go. And our big concern was safety and security, particularly of patients, right? There had been a couple children's hospitals where kids were stolen, and it's just never a good situation. So we got a multidisciplinary group together, and I swear we must have talked for 2 months in meetings. I would say at least 2 months. And we brainstormed and we did research, and our solutions just kind of fell into place because we had spent so much time going through what our issues were and what ideas we had. And really, our solution was two-pronged. The first was to really kind of create a path throughout the hospital. And, that meant that some doctors and physicians weren't going to be able to go into their favorite door, which was a huge issue. And but we sold the idea, and not one person complained, right? Because we were so devoted to our mission and the explanation of our mission. And then the other one was we got a patient tagging system. But I tell you, spending that time brainstorming was so valuable that it really just brought us to this level that we certainly never would have, if we had cut our time in half, that time for brainstorming, we would have never gotten there. And that's why when you look at the team process, forming, storming, norming, adjourning, we never spend enough time on forming, right? Or performing, then adjourning. We never spend enough time on forming. We're like, okay, we're all in the room now, let's get going. And it's really important that you really spend that time getting to know what people's strengths are, right? Getting to know their ideas so that they feel comfortable bringing forth these wild and crazy ideas, so that you can then go to storming, then you can then go to norming, that you can then go to performing. And I'm going to say we never spend enough time on adjourning either. We never spend enough time celebrating our successes, right? A lot of times we just perform and then we just move on. And you really want to celebrate those. So, okay, what I'd like to do is I would like I know some of you might still be drawing and working on that, but I would like to put you in teams of 3, and I would like you to share with your team members what your 3 goals are. Now, why do I want you to do that? Your words give power to your situation. So I want you to, again, and maybe from last time, maybe your 3 versions have become a little bit different, right? Maybe they've evolved a little bit. So that's why I would like to do that. If anybody wants to share with us what their 3 scenarios or versions that they are thinking of for their future, that would be wonderful. I know it takes a little bit of being vulnerable, but that can be really helpful. Yes, HH, you had a question?
Yeah, it's Helen. Can you
Hi.
hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I can share mine because
Oh.
I really enjoyed this design thinking. I did a class in design thinking and engineering, and then I thought when I found the book, I didn't know where to start. So I thought I
Yes,
joined the class.
I
And I think
love that.
my ideal life, for example, I'm from Europe. I'm from London. My ideal, like the design, I'm confused. Basically, everything is scattered. For example, my ideal life is living in by the seaside and then having that calm life. And then the job is somewhere else. What's going on right now? I'm trying to design. What do I want? What do I want to understand about myself? And then this is I've been confused. What I want in my life is right now I'm in Switzerland. I want to live in Switzerland, having the job I enjoy, which is working as a physicist, and then at the same time having a small business going on. But I feel like everything is scattered because the job is a bit scarce, and then everything is a bit. So I'm trying to design my life based on the thing I want. So yeah, this is my 3 thing I can put.
That is wonderful. So can you share what your 3 versions are, or are you not there yet?
I'm not there yet.
Okay. Awesome. So that's something that you can work on. And maybe one of the examples, I don't know if you can work remotely as a physicist, or
Okay.
if you can work hybrid in a hybrid situation, like part-time, on site, part-time in Switzerland, or maybe it's a matter of really devoting yourself during a certain period of time and spending a long vacation in Switzerland, right? I mean, there's so many ways you can do it. And thinking through each scenario and planning how you can do it will really help give you clarity around that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Deborah.
I just wanted to add, ironically, I happen to work for Roche and Genentech, which you may know of. Roche is in Switzerland. There's also Novartis in Switzerland. I'm with the pharmaceutical company, and that's just one example. And a lot of us work remotely for them. I'm not trying to tell you what the possibilities are, but there's, Novartis and Roche are giant companies in Switzerland. They offer, especially Roche, a lot of remote work opportunities and part-time work. So that's just one possibility, but I highly recommend you talk to some people there. They're always looking for physicists and folks like that in the sciences. So I think it would be helpful just to have some informal interviews with different companies and different people to see what's possible. That's just a thought.
Oh my gosh, Deborah, you always hit the nail on the head. I love information interviews, right? I love contacting people that you're like, oh my gosh, I want to learn more from you. Do you have 10 to 15 minutes that we can chat? And I have gotten so many gems from those conversations, so many gems of wisdom that, and people love to talk. People love to share their insights, right? Share wisdom. HH, you had another thing you wanted to share.
No, I was trying to lower my head. I keep
Oh,
pressing on
okay,
it.
okay. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Those are just great, great suggestions. And I can't recommend information interviews and more highly. I mean, when I decided that I wanted to go back to school, I did information interviews. I selected like 10 people, and 2 people in the same week gave me like the same advice. And I was like, it was like, oh, it was like the sun was shining through the clouds, right? And I took that, not that I gave up on my other notions, but I definitely use that as a sign that I should really proceed. That should be my primary plan, right? And it worked out. Also on page 149, people and the other World Wide Web. I love that. It's all about networking. And I just finished a summer program with some students, and Thursday night was kind of instructive. And they said, every Thursday you say it's all about networking. It is. We can network aside from just being on the computer, right? Networking is not just hustling people, right? It's not asking for things from people. It's about asking for direction and advice, right? It's about creating collaborations, relationships, establishing relationships, so that as you go on in life, maybe they can help you, maybe you can help them, right? So that's what networking is all about. And that is our other World Wide Web. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is network mapping. So you're going to have your 3 scenarios. And then what I want you to do is, on a piece of paper, I want you to draw a circle and put you in the center. And this is actually part of a book I'm writing. But those secondarily or not as well are likely to be more helpful than those in your direct network. Friends of friends and acquaintances, for some reason, will really go the extra mile in helping you out. And research supports this finding. I don't know why. Maybe because they're a friend of a friend and they feel like, oh my gosh, I really want to, help this person that knows this friend. But put a circle with you in the center, and then put circles all around that. And so you can put community, you can put neighbors, you can put work, you can put family, you can put professional organizations, you can put school, you can put sports. And then, so all of these groups that you interact with on a regular basis. And then I'd like you from there, so neighbors, put another circle off of neighbors, and list in each circle neighbors that you might want to contact and have an information interview with. Professional organizations, list people that you would want to connect with. I connected with Wendy after our last session, and we agreed that we are going to work on something going forward, just based on our 10-minute conversation. And it was so wonderful. And we both had the same idea. And, I just feel like when people come together and they have a like purpose or mission, it's just really easy to collaborate and come with. So, but it's important that you think about, who are these people, right? And from all these different areas of your life, who are these people that you would want to reach out to? And don't make judgments. right? Maybe you want to reach out to someone and see if they know other people, right, that can help you in this endeavor. That's fine. But think of people that you want to connect with. One of my favorite stories is, well, I have so many, but one is I graduated. I always graduated from college during a recession. I think it was one of my skills, right? That I would graduate from each level during a recession. So, and one of the times I moved back, I moved back to Michigan, right? After I graduated. So literally I moved 5,000 miles away back home to Michigan. And my network was very far away, right? So I had started like that. Well, this was way back when you could read the paper and apply for jobs. I had started going to companies and delivering my resume in person. And one day, I met my mom at a coffee shop, and we were sitting, or we were getting ready to sit down. This coffee shop, actually it was a donut shop, but donut and coffee shop. We were getting ready to sit down, and this older gentleman, like, he almost spilled his whole cup of coffee on me, right? I mean, it was just like, it was like centimeters away, right? And he's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "That's okay, no problem. Do you know anybody that's hiring in HR?" He was like an older gentleman who was retired. And guess what? He goes, "As a matter of fact, I do. My daughter was just telling me a story the other day about how they knew a new HR officer at the bank." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Can you put me in touch with your daughter?" So he did. His daughter and I spoke that night. I applied for, I dropped my resume off the next day, and 2 days later, I had the job. That's how top of mind you need to have these things when you're working towards them, right? It really has to be something that you are putting everything in. Another story that a friend told me, he's part of the Small Business Development Council in Michigan. And he was working at, he's a graduate of Eastern Michigan, and he was working at Frank's Nursery and Craft, and which there aren't very many of these anymore, but it used to be they were kind of like a Michael's, right? But they had a huge live plant section as well. Anyway, a dog came walking in the door one time, walked in the right door, coming into the store, and he fell in love with the dog. He said to his mom, "I want to keep this dog." She said, "Oh my gosh, no," because he was still living with his mom. She goes, "No, we're not having a dog, but I will help you find the dog's owner." So they created flyers, they put him up, they put him all around the neighborhood. And his mom had been kind of hounding him, "You've graduated, you need to get a job in your field, right? This retail was wonderful, but it served its purpose, and now it's time for you to move on." And he delivered the dog to its owner, and the gentleman, they were just chatting, and he goes, what do you do for a living?" And he said, "Well, I just graduated. I'm looking for a job in the IT field, da da da." And the guy goes, "I hire people in the IT field. Tell me a little bit more about yourself." And that's how he got a job. That's how he got his job, returning the dog to its owner. And he had been there for 15 plus years until he went into his consulting job. So things happen in the most unusual ways. But what I want you to realize is you need to connect with people, right? You need to be moving. You need to be talking. You have your plans, right, first. And then you need to be connecting with people to figure out how are you going to implement these plans. Does that make sense? And you have to learn from your mistakes, right? In our summer session with the Center for Digital Engagement, we had a quote that we said over and over again, and it was fail faster, right? Figure out an idea and fail faster so you can move on, right? You can move on, you can identify your growth insights, and you can move on. So I think that that is just something, they talk a little bit more about that. You have to learn from your mistakes, but and there's a really, really good book. I think it's called Fail Up, and it's by Tavis Smiley. And I read this book a number of years ago. I didn't even know who Tavis Smiley was, but a friend recommended the book to me. And it was kind of like Undaunted. He lays out like all these mistakes he made in his life and how he, through these mistakes, learned and became the national broadcaster that he became. So, okay. You need to build your own, and I know our time is running short. You need to build your own kitchen cabinet or board of directors. You need to get with people that are going to hold you accountable, right? You are going to need to get with, you need to have a group around you that is going to really help promote you, give you recommendations, and maybe sometimes give you, what is it? Some hard facts, some hard truths when you need them. So form your own kitchen cabinet, and it can be 4 or 5 people that are really going to support you going forward. This is key. This is key. So designing your scenarios, having a network of people that you are going to talk to and have ask questions of, and then building your own, I'd also call it inner circle, right? Your own inner circle of people that are going to support you and help you through this process. And lastly, this is the next. This is a quote on page 230 of the book. Life design is ultimately a way of life that will transform how you look at your life and how you live your life. The end result of a well-designed life is a life well lived. And really, is there anything more we could hope for? So it is my hope and my desire that you learned a lot about design thinking and going through this book in 3 sessions. And I want to hear from you. So stay in touch with me. KimJBarker@gmail.com is my email address. And I want to encourage you. This is a process. This isn't a once and done kind of thing, right? It's a process that you can go through over and over again. And whenever you need to, you can design your life in a way that suits you best. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for those who are saying thank you in the chat. Thank you, Amy, for joining us today. And best wishes to everyone going forward. Bye-bye.